there's a product on the market. It's called self-leveling seam sealer. Now, this product would be used in a case such as what I'm doing here, or possibly if you're restoring an old car and you got to put seam sealer in your drip rails and you want it to look glass smooth, or you have areas that need to be seam sealed up and they need to be airtight seam sealed, you would use this product. Let's get a closer look at it and see what we got.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
What we're looking at here is a product made by 3M, and this is part number 08307. Now, before we go any further, I just want to let everybody know out there, they are not paying me to do this. This is all on my own. They are not sponsoring me or doing anything whatsoever, but I like to show products that are going to help you, the consumer slash DIY guy, save a lot of money and a lot of time and to do it right. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and see what we're working with here. This is called self-leveling seam sealer, just like I mentioned. And this is actually a two-part seam sealer. That means it's an epoxy style seam sealer because it's got a hardener that mixes with it. Now, the work period time with this is approximately 27 minutes, 25 minutes. And once you get going with it, you got to keep going because by the time you hit 30 minutes, it's already starting to harden up. Within an hour's time, this stuff is done and ready to keep going down the line and doing what you need to do to finish your job. Now, the kicker on this is this item right here. And if you look real close, you can see this is a special caulking gun. So it doesn't matter if you're using the 3M brand or if you're going to use the U-Pole brand or whatever brand you're going to use. When it comes to a self-leveling seam sealer or anything that has a two-part deal going on, like this tube here, you're going to have that specialty gun. Now, this gun was $70. The tube of the self-leveling seam sealer was approximately $30, $35. Total cost in this little situation here was $108 and some change. So now that we looked at the product, let's look at what we're going to do to use that product and why we need to use it. The first thing we're going to look at is what kind of car am I working on. And the kind of car that I'm working on, let me turn this door around because this is actually a door. This is for a 1951 Morgan. And what the owner did is he went ahead and put brand new door skins on the door shells. Now, I believe he also replaced one of these pieces of wood frames on this, and this is actually a hand-built car. You can look them up, the Morgans. They're an English car, and they're hand-built by hand. I think I just said that. But what happened is that from the moisture and not sealing it properly, we turn the door over and water, moisture, and rot gets down into this bottom frame structure here, and then starts rotting the door out on the bottom of the door. So he had to literally make the skins from scratch. And if you look right here, you can see that this door has a curve in it. You can see that it's not a flat door. And then I'm sure this one's the same way. All right, you can see right there, this one has a curve in it as well. So this is a very meticulous job. Now, the reason we're seam sealing this is for two reasons. We don't want any moisture or water getting in the lip where it actually rolls over, because there's two pieces to this door. There's a inner skin right here, and then there's an outer skin right here. So when I say an inner skin, what you have is you have a metal strip that actually ties on to the metal frame right here, and it's approximately this wide all the way around. And then once you put that on, and you got to be pretty accurate at that. That's not an easy job. Once you put that on there, then you would come back and then using the metal strip that you tied onto your wood frame, then you would roll your door skin onto the metal frame that is tied to the wood frame, and then this is your finished product. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and seam seal the edges where it's rolled over here, because we don't want water and moisture getting down in there. Now I could use a regular seam sealer on this, but it looks a little bit sloppy. I would have to do a lot of body work on it, and I would have to sand it down, then fill it in with some epoxy primer, then come back and put a couple coats of polyester filler on it, and then prime it, and it would just be a real nightmare. Now another reason that you would use this product is for this situation right here. Now this is a 1967 GTO is what we're looking at here. We're getting ready to do an off-frame restoration. You can see that the body is now on some jack stands. We're getting ready to put it on a body roller and take it to the soda blasters and have all that done. But on these old classic cars, or any car that actually has a drip rail, there's a seam sealer down inside here that seals this panel to this panel, because these are actually two separate panels here. So when you got that spot welding going on and you got that seam, and I don't know if you can see it in there, but you can actually see where this panel here overrides this panel up inside there. Yeah, right there. That's it right there where my finger is, right here. That's why you would put seam sealer in here, so it will seal all that up. And then of course you can see here's some seam. Okay, that's not seam sealer. That's an old stick. Wow. But basically you get the idea what the self-leveling seam sealer is for. It's for very meticulous and structural type jobs that need less attention and top quality appearance, you might say. So now that we went over the job that we're doing and also the product itself, it's time to go ahead and open our packages up and start doing what we need to do to get this job done. I'm going to go ahead and open our sealed package. And then when we open our package, we're going to see that it comes with two tips. Now these are self-mixing tips is what you're looking at right here. And what that does is when the liquid or the product is pushed through that tube, it automatically mixes itself up. So then it comes out the end right here, and you're basically done down the road and doing the job at hand. We got our dual action caulking gun. You can see how I did that. All right, there's a lever back here that you push in to unlock, just like any caulking gun. And then this here will only fit one direction, I believe. Let's see what we got here. I always put the name up instead of down, so that way we know that everything is in proper position. Okay, we got two. Okay, hold on one second. Let me get this in here. So there we go, right there. There's actually a slot on the caulking tube itself that fits into the gun, and then it locks itself in place. So we're going to go ahead and lightly get a little bit of pressure. We don't want a lot. If you get too much pressure, you can always push your button to unlock the lever. We're going to go ahead and take off our cap, just like this, and paying attention that we won't be throwing that away. Make sure that you keep that, because that's how we're going to seal it back up once we're done with it, because we won't use all this seam sealer on these two doors. So you want to make sure that you keep that cap. And that's the part I'm talking about keeping right there. Of course we're going to have to keep that, because this is how it all goes together, is you slide your caulking tip into the threaded cap, and then you would screw it on just like this, making sure it's on there secure and well, so it won't leak out the ends. But always remember to keep this, so when we're done using it, we can put these back in there to seal this off, because if you don't, what'll happen, those will dry out. Now it does come with two tips. I think that they should provide 4 or 5, but you know how the corporation is. They want you to buy more and more, and this is basically, when you buy these, you buy them by the bags. So yeah, that's a gimmick right there in itself, but at least they come with 2 of them. Now, another thing I did notice on the tip of this, there's actually a threaded tip, and it's already got a hole cut into it right here. Now, it didn't come with anything that we can screw on there, but I'm thinking if you use a wire nut, possibly it would be not the yellow, but possibly a green one, which would be the smallest of the 2, yellow wire nut, green wire nut. You can probably screw that on there, and that would use that as a seal as well. But I'm not going to guarantee that, but that's basically what I'm thinking here. So what I did to make less of a mess, I went ahead, and you've already seen what's going on. I put tape around the edge of the outside of the door, and the reason I did that is if our seam sealer flows over the edges, it'll be less of a cleanup for us. So we're basically going to go ahead and take our seam sealer, and we're going to very lightly push it together, and if you look really, really close, you can see where it's mixing up in the tube there. All right, you can see that right there. It's mixing itself up as I push the trigger. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure all our tape is out of the way. Now, this is just to protect the outside of the door so we don't have more work ahead of us. And then we're going to take our seam sealer, and I'm going to go right on the edge of our rolled edge on our door skin. And just let it flow out. We'll put a nice bead on there. There will be a little bit of minimal sanding that I'll have to do. But by the time all this is dry and everything gets done, it should flow out nice and flat where it'll look like we did this at the factory. And I'm trying to put an even layer on here, but since it is self-leveling, it should flow out and really look nice when we're done. Now, once again, I might have to do a little bit of finessing on it once we get it all leveled out and everything goes properly. But hopefully it'll come out and it'll look really, really awesome. I'm going to go ahead and also go around the wood and seal the wood up as well. We're just going to go ahead and seal this whole section in and get this whole thing cleaned up for him. We're going to go ahead and let that sit for approximately an hour, and I want to show you something from this door versus that door when we come back, and you'll get what I'm saying when I come back. So let's let that dry, and we'll be right back. Okay, it's been approximately 2 hours since we put our seam sealer on our doors, and it looks like it came out really, really nice, and I want to go ahead and get a close-up view of that so I can show you what's going on here. If you remember correctly, we did this door first, then we came back and we did this door, and then I went back and I went over this door, and let me show you what is going on. So if we look at this door here, it really, really laid down smooth, and this is the second door that we did, and you can see that it flowed out evenly, and everything looks really, really nice. If you look at this door right here, you can see where it looks a little bit uneven. It's not really flowing out good, and I'm going to tell you why that happened is because when I put my initial seam sealer on here, it started to flow out, and once it started flowing out and stopped moving, it started to dry on us. So by the time I got done doing this door, and remember we went ahead and filled this one all the way in, you can see this one's just really awesome, and it came out really, really nice. We went ahead and filled that one in completely, but on our first door all we did is just fill it into this edge, and then I came back and I filled it in again to go around this section here. So what happened is this layer here was laying on top of this layer, which was already drying, so it didn't have time to mix together and flow out like this one did. So that's another situation that we want to look at and actually cover here is if you plan on doing a big surface like we did on these, you can see how big that is. That's approximately 1 inch wide or so. Don't stop and then say, oh, well, let me go back and fill it in. You have to do the whole thing at one time, or this is what's happening right here. So if this problem happens like it did to me, the only way to cure that problem is to get yourself a sanding block and some 80 grit. And I would tell you to use a DA sander on this, but the problem is since it's a seam sealer, it's got kind of a gummy feeling to it. It's not like super hard like Bondo, and it will probably gum your sandpaper up very quickly. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our sanding block like you see right here, and then we're going to go ahead and hand sand that. And it should sand down pretty easy. So just for fun, we're going to go ahead and take the DA sander, and we're going to go ahead around this edge here and see what happens. So by using the DA sander, it did cut it down, but it also gummed it up and heated it up as well. We're better off taking our block sander and just taking our time and sanding it down to perfection. And then after sanding it down and finessing it, you can see how nice it looks, and it just really flows out and does the number that we need. So that's the deal. Now on this one here, I haven't done any sanding yet, and what I've been doing, I went ahead and transferred over to my Rollo-Lock disc. And if you look right here, I'm using an old worn out 36 grit Rollo-Lock pad. Let me go ahead and take that off and show you what's going on here. All right, this is a 2-inch Rollo-Lock pad on a high-speed hand grinder. And what I'm doing, I'm just lightly going over it just to smooth everything out. So we're going to take a piece of 180 grit. We're just going to scuff that down lightly. And all we're doing is deburring it, basically. Go ahead and get our other door as well. And we are now done applying our self-leveling seam sealer on our doors. Once again, this stuff can be used on anything and everything that takes seam sealer. It dries very quickly. You don't have to wait 2 or 3 days for it to dry and actually work with it. Remember this one here, I was telling you about it. It was off level and we kind of messed it up. Well, now look at it. It looks perfect. This door is going to be sealed up. It's not going to rust. It's not going to rot. And everything is going to work out great. So this is the 3M product that we went ahead and showed you how to use. There's many different companies out there that make this product. All you got to do is remember self-leveling seam sealer, and you're going to be able to find what you want. This is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete, showing you and telling you ways to make things easier, do it the professional way just like the big boys do, and saving you a lot of money. We'll see you later.
Watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.